now let's move to CAMSS ELIS, Assessing Reference Data, with Hector Rico-Lorenzo, Senior Public Sector Consultant, NTT Data Spain. That, I was kind of having a bit of a laugh at the different alphabets too, but this one has several of them. Maybe I'll just introduce the first one for those who might not know. CAMSS is Common Assessment Method for Standards and Specifications. I'll leave you the rest.
Yes, so many thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been following the previous years and endorses. So here, as he said, I'm Hector Rico. I'm here to talk about CAMSS and several of its solutions that are and how it can help to implement interoperability, in this case, through assessing reference data and semantic specifications, okay? So what is CAMSS? As it was just introduced, it stands for Common Assessment Method of and Specifications. Okay, and we are going to start with some context and the broader definition. First, the context for CAMSS. So in here we have the EIF. We have, which mostly of you will know, and quite good. Okay, and then we have two digital programs. First, it was ISA2, which was the program that created and founded CAMSS, and then did the Digital Europe program, which is now the umbrella under CAMSS is included, and also we have the EIRA, okay, which is we will see it later on, but it stands for European Interoperability Reference Architecture. So this context sets the needs, okay, for CAMSS, which in the end is establishing the connectivity and the interaction between public administrations, avoiding any possible digital barriers, so interoperability. We have also the need of planning the digital public solutions through interoperability architecture, and then avoiding vendor lock-in. Okay, so with this, CAMSS is provided as best practices method for member states, the different jurisdiction levels and digital public services to support them in order to overcome interoperability issues or requirements. Then, going to the definition, here I think it was on the previous slide as well, but you can see it as a European guide for assessing, selecting and justifying standards and specification in e-government projects. It's important to mention that the unit of analysis here are standards and specifications. Okay, to support here and the needs that were previously defined, we have that CAMSS solutions support the different needs that previously mentioned. For example, for avoiding vendor lock-ins, CAMSS have the MSP scenario, for example, or the EIF scenario that we will see later on, that are used to assess the specifications and to see if they are interoperable or not, and spot any possible inconsistency that goes against the digital sovereignty. Okay. Then for interoperability, which is the second bullet, and here comes, apart from the EIF scenario that we will see, we have the ELIS that was on the title that provides a set of specifications related to the architectural building blocks. And last, the need of helping assessing and accessing interoperability specifications that are assessed through the method. Okay, this method is the EIF scenario that is aligned with the recommendations and the recommendations that sets the EIF. Then, having set the context for CAMSS, we have this the first solution, which is the ELIS, which stands for EIRA Library of Interoperability Specifications. This solution basically includes specifications and standards that are related to EIRA architectural building blocks that are basically setting the requirements for creating digital public services. Okay, so this is the definition, and basically it is important to remark that the ELIS is in conformance with the EIF scenario, and it is because it's based on and built upon specifications and solutions such the EIRA that we will see later on. We have also the core assessment vocabulary, which is a vocabulary that is a solution from CAMSS Action as well, that is used to describe assessments in machine-readable format, okay, serialized in RDF. We have also the core standards and specification vocabulary, which the purpose is to describe standards and specifications in a machine-readable format, also serialized as RDF. And also related to the specifications that are included on the ELIS, we have what we called candidate specifications that are associated to the ABBs. These are called candidate specifications because they are not assessed yet. So we propose specifications, we identify specifications, we associate them to ABBs, and then in parallel we run the assessments using the solution that I'll present later on the presentation that said if the specification is interoperable or not, and if it's compliant with the EIF. Okay. So some of the characteristics that the ELIS has, and that I already mentioned some of them. First is a key aspect for supporting architects when creating solutions, because it provides a set of specifications that can be used to create the digital public services and help to later on the phases of the implementation. Okay, here as well, as mentioned, includes the evaluated CAMSS specifications. Okay, here I'm going to link to the last bullet on the slide, which we have a threshold. Okay, which means that if after assessment, if the specification it doesn't reach this threshold, it's not considered and is removed as candidate or a specification, and it is not included because it's not reaching the 75%. Okay. Also, and to link with the previous presentation, we have available. We have the ELIS and the different data sets that we have in CAMSS published in Stellar, and also they are published on vocabularies. So you can go check them there. And as you see here on the right side of the screen, we have a summary of the figures that we have. We have a total of 761 candidate specifications, and we are running the assessments with now a total of 109. Okay. You can go and check on the collection from CAMSS, so you have more detailed view in here. Then, with connecting with the assessed specifications, we have the EIF scenario, which is the one that we wanted to present here, which is focused on assessing if specifications are aligned and compliant with the recommendations that the EIF sets. Okay, so a few facts. So it's built upon the 12 EIF principles and recommendations. Okay, it consists of a 45 set of criteria. It's now on its version 6, so it's curated. And for that, we have as well the CAMSS methodology, which is basically the methodology for performing the assessment, because this is published on a self-assessment tool, even though CAMSS Action has the CAMSS as a service to provide support to different member states and public administration. Okay. In the bottom of the page, you have the EIF scenario, how it is organized. Okay, you have the sections as it comes from the EIF, and then the principles, the underlying principles that corresponds with the different sections. Okay, you can check it on the collection because it's published and is implemented in use survey. And then just to link with the EIRA, as I mentioned that the ELIS is the EIRA Library of Interoperability Specifications. I'm going to introduce you what it is briefly, because this is another action. This is not on CAMSS site. Okay, this is on the Interoperability Architecture Solutions umbrella. But the EIRA is the reference architecture that supports the design, the analysis and design of digital public services, and set the basic elements or components for promoting interoperability. Okay, here we have that the EIRA acts as a template to architects and recommend solutions. So it acts as a guide for creating solutions, digital public services based on specific needs. We have also the best practices and modeling standards and so on. So systems are aligned with those practices, and also it can be understood as a common language for creating digital public services. Okay, and as mentioned, it is in conformance with the EIF, it's based on it, and as you can see here on the right side of the screen, we have the different views, which are the loss views, legal view, organizational view, semantic view, and technical view. Here in CAMSS, we are focusing on mainly semantic and technical view, although we provide also support on the other ones. And then we are going to the last part, where we are going to make reference on assessing reference data as artifacts and semantic specifications. Okay, here we are setting the how. Okay, this is like the process that we follow. This is not set just for today. This is how the action works on a regular basis. First is the identification of specifications for specific purposes. Okay, these specific purposes can be set, for example, for the requirements that data includes on the ABBs. Then we assess using the methodology, specifically the EIF scenario that I just presented. Okay, and if the assessment reaches the threshold, the 75%, it's included in the ELIS as recommended specification following and compliant with the EIF. Okay, so this has like the purpose or why and the value that it brings. Okay, first we have that it serves as a way to identify, assess, and link specifications. In this case, could be reference data, artifacts, or semantic specifications to the requirements that the EIRA sets for the development of digital public services. Okay, and here I'm going to grab up a few of them, okay, because I think that it's relevant. In the sense, while reusing these solutions that have been assessed and that have been qualified as recommended, in the end, what we are saying is that those specifications are interoperable. So it means that after being assessed and considering the different openness aspects, governance aspects, any licensing issues, problems, it is good to be reused and to be implemented in the digital public services. And I always use an example here because which is like reusing in the sense and avoiding redoing work helps to reduce the cost, and it is beneficial for all levels of administrations. Okay, and I put the example of libraries, that a libraries network is working in the network. For example, Library 1 buys a book, then catalogs it, and puts on the system that it's common for everyone. So here what we have later on is that the second library also buys that book, and what has to do is basically get the metadata from that book and include on its catalog. So the thing is here that by reusing those specifications that are assessed and so on, we help to reduce that cost of assessing every specification and at any stage. Okay, and then one thing that is also interesting is that here we are also checking governance aspects on the EIF scenario. So what it means that when a specification is assessed and is above the threshold, it means that also governance considerations has been evaluated and meet the required requirements. Sorry for the redundancy. And I think that's what I had for you today. I don't know if there are questions.
Yes, in fact, there are.
You are welcome.
Gracias, Hector. Yes, a number of questions. Actually, when you had that slide talking about return on investment, I'm sure that perks up the ears of the private sector as well.
Yeah.
And here's a private sector question. To what extent is CAMSS usable for private companies to assess and justify their commitment/investment in adopting open industry semantic standards?
Well, in the end, the logic of the assessment is aligned with the EIF principles and recommendations. So it's very focused on, in principle, to e-government initiatives and so on, but this can be also extrapolated to the private sector by saying if you assess a specification using the EIF scenario, for example, you will get a score of, for example, the different set of criteria categorized from the EIF, and then you can justify that you are covering those needs and you are aligned with that. So to what, I mean, there's the point that on public sector, there's the need to follow those rules, those policies, and so on. In the end, on the private sector, it's a matter of aim and wanting to justify that.
Yeah, which I can imagine also helps with public procurement, because then you're all on the same page.
Yeah. Actually, there's we have a solution which is the MSP scenario, which helps the multi-stakeholder platform. Okay, that basically what they are working is to identify technical specifications for fulfilling needs. For example, on the ADAS 2 implementation. So there's this scenario that supports them to check if those technical specifications are in line with, in this case, the standardization regulation.
Okay. Another question: is there a move to reduce rather than grow the number of interoperable solutions in ELIS, as that might be a better indicator of growing interoperability, to reduce the number of? Yeah.
We are constantly evaluating how it let's say, create and provide more value, and it's always the discussion on the table on how we can ensure that by providing a more reduced catalog or set of specifications and that meet 100% some requirements, we are in a manner of promoting. But that's why we made this distinction between the candidate and the interoperable solution.
So that's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Is there an online space where one can share experiences and exchange best practices within CAMSS? Online space.
We have the CAMSS collection, okay, which is in the Interoperable Europe portal. So there you can contact us, and we are also in the action trying to find a way to create the space in line with community. So everyone can share, not just on the surveys that people that work with CAMSS.
So how do they get to that space? Is that where do they find that?
We have GitHub space, and we have the portal collection in the Interoperable Europe portal. Okay,
great. Any questions by microphone out there at all? No. Okay. Let's take one more. Is it possible to run and see the report of CAMSS on the reference data of Publications Office? Is it possible to run and see the report of CAMSS on the reference data of Publications Office? I'm not sure if I understand that. Do you?
I mean, I think that the reference data on the Publications Office is a quite broad field, but I think that you could run the assessment on different reference data sets together. It's important with the governance mechanisms and maintenance mechanisms that are put in place that so you can evaluate the whole thing. But you need to focus on a specific, for example, e-procurement code list.
Okay, maybe one last question: is CAMSS integrating the FAIR principles, as we mentioned earlier, the FAIR principles in its assessment?
That's something that we have on the table, because there are other initiatives that are specifically checking or creating kind of solutions for assessing the FAIR principles. So basically at this stage we are covering the EIF principles and recommendations. So FAIR principles at this stage is not fully covered, even though the EIF is covering some of those aspects.
Okay, and for any other questions that come later, the staircase wit, or as we say, esprit d'escalier, you can always talk to Hector during the coffee breaks, during the lunch and so forth, drinks at the end. So Hector, thank you very much.
Thank you.